welcome to the Super Investor Panel. I have two super investors here. And let's start off with talking about valuations. I feel like every week there's a new billion-dollar startup. What are we looking at here?
I think they're all worth $1 billion.
All worth $1 billion?
Every one of you is worth $1 billion. Might take 15 years, but you'll get there.
Well, I'm a growth stage investor, so I think they're all actually worth $100 billion.
Yeah.
So, no, but seriously, I think the term unicorn right now is being used. It's like a piñata exploded in terms of the number of unicorns that are being born. You feel like it's a unicorn baby boom or something. But I think when that term was first coined by one of my friends, Aileen Lee, she was referring to kind of a history of about 4 unicorns being produced every year. Mm-hmm. We're seeing that number increase, maybe 10x what it has in years past. So I think when you are investing at those valuations, I think 2 things are happening in this environment. First, companies with early stage risk just getting much larger valuations and much more speculative about how large they can be. And secondly, you're seeing companies that really are the number 2 or number 3 player in their market, that investors that I don't think are used to this start to see them as unicorns when in fact they're not. So I think being very circumspect and disciplined about selecting the ones that are truly special from the ones that are also RANs.
You know, don't you, that a unicorn is a mythical beast?
And in terms of this era, like, it's 2015 now. 10 years from now in the future, when we look back on this startup environment, what do you think we're going to say about this era? Is this going to be another bubble? Is this going to be the time that all these great companies were born? What do we think?
I think it's a little both. I think we've got more entrepreneurs around than we ever did, even in 1999, and that's a great thing, because I think people have had to create their own careers because the existing economy didn't support them. 2008, 2009, things went very badly. It's tough to get jobs, so all these guys figured out they'd create their own jobs. All of these businesses now are going to rise, and interesting things are going to happen to them, and then we might have another bubble. But if you had invested in all the tech companies, all the public tech companies in the top of the bubble, 1999, you'd still have made a fortune to today, because you would have still been in Google and eBay and Yahoo and all these companies that have done very, very well for their investors since. So I actually think that this is what's great is that all of this is incredible creativity, and this creativity is going to spread around the world faster than it ever did before. Distribution is getting to be a commodity, and so we're able to distribute your product around the world faster than it has ever been done before, through the crowd or through viral marketing or social media. It moves fast, and so getting all these minds to think creatively, I can only do great things for the world.
Mood, you're a growth stage investor. When you're making these investments, what are you looking for? Are there certain kind of flags that make you want to go after an investment versus something you're going to pass on? What are the key things you're looking for?
Well, first of all, I think it depends on what kind of growth stage investing strategy you have. For us, we really try to focus on selecting category leaders. So there's a perfectly fine business model on selecting the number 2 or the number 3 player in a market, getting in there at the right price, helping them, and you'll make a nice return. That's just not what we do. And so when we're looking for category leadership, the other dimensions that are really important to us, I would say durability. Mm-hmm. So when you think about businesses, like a non-durable business would be one that is platform dependent. You wonder if there's existential concern, if there's a platform shift, or if someone decides to just turn off, access to something. And I think secondly, entrepreneurs that, I guess in my parlance, I would say have gravitational pull. So the type of engineering talent, the type of product talent that can really build platforms that are enduring, that are special, they require that core founder DNA that will attract these kind of people. So that obviously overlaid by classic business school things like massive market, positioning with a market that you feel like pretty good about disruption happening, and then the growth layer on top of that. We like to see the formula working. So unlike in early stage venture, we're not trying to predict success, we're trying to select success. So the signs of that in an e-commerce business are highly financial. The signs of that in a business like Waze, which we invested in, are much different. So those are some of the layers.
I like this concept of gravitational pull. When it's an early stage investment, it's got to be somebody who puts their stake in the ground and they're a new mass that hopefully continues to grow. I think of what Elon Musk did. He said, we're going to go to Mars. And most of the people thought he was crazy at first, so he was an isolated planet out there. And then slowly but surely, all the greatest engineers said, well, how would we get to Mars? And then all that creativity went to his planet, and he has become this major gravitational pull.
Tim, you're an early stage guy. What do you look for? What are the kind of the markers you look for in an early stage entrepreneur? What are the things that make you say, I'm going to bet on this person and pass on this person?
Well, it's interesting. I see so many companies. I see a lot right here. I see so many companies that I really need to filter them to, are they going after a big enough market? Do they have a technology that is unique enough, or have they seen a place in the marketplace where lines cross, like where Tesla was? I saw that, wow, you didn't have to be a tree hugger or a golfer to want to be in an electric car. And because they were super fast, so you didn't make a big sacrifice. And I saw that coming. And so if you see a couple of interesting lines coming, that's when I'm really interested. But then when I meet them, it's really is the enthusiasm breaking out of their chest. And it doesn't have to be like rah-rah cheerleader enthusiasm. It's just like you see that inside them is this business, and they've got a vision of it, and there's nothing that's going to stop them. So if I see that in somebody, then I just can't help but send them a check.
Same kind of thing in growth stage. You look at, I know when the growth stage is more, as you said, finance and more data points, but what does the founder's personality mean for you when you're making a look?
Well, I think being able to express a vision that isn't simply compelling from a business or from a financial perspective, but let's just talk about consumer specifically. So I think enterprise, it's slightly different. But in consumer, something that's really absolutely mass market and mainstream potential, rather than something that only a niche audience would use. So the founder that's able to articulate that in a way that not only tells a story of, oh, this allows you to do such and such differently, but wow, this is going to change the way you live, and here's why this is going to change the way you live. And to be able to tell the sort of the sociology of that affects human psychology, how they interact, and why this is going to change the way they behave. Founders that are able to articulate that vision, particularly in consumer, those are the ones that to us, almost at any stage of their life cycle, where you invest in them, where you back them, the opportunity for upside is so massive that you really try to select those kind of entrepreneurs and those kinds of ideas.
So being able to tell a story is
another
key.
thing I look for, and that is, I look for industries where they haven't yet been transformed. We saw the media business get transformed, and communications get transformed by Skype, and the post office get transformed by email, and transportation's now getting transformed by by Tesla. We're looking for other industries that have this transform, the opportunity to take a new technology and be transformed. So we're really excited about the idea of fintech, because you've got the Bitcoin and the blockchain. You've got electronic shares, e-shares. By the way, you should be using e-shares or CapShare. It's amazing. You've got networked accounting, so that the accounting is all shared. Like if I sold you something and you sold him something, all three of our ledgers would be updated. You've got AngelList and Funders Club and Crowdfunder that are really closing the gap between the entrepreneur and the money. And then you've got sort of these secondary market companies that are potentially transforming the investment banking world. So you've got, that's an industry where I'm saying, wow, they're ready to be disintermediated. They're ready to be transformed. And so I'm always looking for groups like that. And there are many other industries that are looking to be transformed. I think medtech is, whenever you've got an industry where it's run by an oligopoly or a monopoly, you know that there's an opportunity for an entrepreneur because they are not providing the service that is warranted by the cost. So that would include medicine, include education, include government. All those big industries are ripe for the picking right now. So go after those.
But you mentioned like finance, investment banks, major law firms. These are trillion-dollar industries, well-connected, very powerful. How will a startup kind of knock the these big bulge bracket banks?
Well, the same way that Napster went after the music industry, but the music industry fought them legally, and then the movie industry got smart and they said, well, no, the best way to fight this wave that's coming anyway is actually to accept it and to build business models around it. And I think that those industries, the investment bankers, the lawyers, the accountants, are all going to have to think, well, how do we adapt to this new market? We have to be leaner. We have to be more efficient. We have to maybe build a better brand or a more efficient brand so people want to come to us. I don't think using the current system where you wait and wait and wait until an investment banker takes you public and then they just basically extract 30% of the value of your company. I don't think that's here forever. I think things are going to change. And that power, the reactions from the power base are always the same. First, they line up against it. Like Bitcoin came along and the bankers went, oh no, we're lining up against it. No Bitcoin, we don't want Bitcoin, we don't like it. Because they know that their margins are going to be decreased and the customers are going to be happier with Bitcoin, but they are not going to be as happy. Then they go to the government and they lobby and they try to make it illegal or they try to make it regulated out of business. But the wave keeps coming, the Bitcoin wave, the internet wave, the Napster wave. It wasn't Napster in the end, it was iTunes, but it keeps coming, and the winners from the old world are the ones who accept the fact that new technologies are coming, and then they jump into those new technologies and they do something with them.
Mood, who are your dinosaur industries looking to get shaken up?
Transportation, absolutely. Tim mentioned a company that's obviously revolutionizing transportation in Tesla, but one I'm invested in is Uber. And I think, gosh, what a hard industry to transform, because there's so many forces that have a motive in it, whether it's big oil, whether it's big auto, whether it's the various lobbying interests of taxis in various municipalities. And but when you look at the heart of it, like, it's inefficient, and it's not it hasn't been a rewarding experience for consumers. And so disrupting something that's difficult, that's sort of entrenched like that, I think it begins, and I agree with everything that Tim said, but I think it begins with something that captures the magic with consumers. And when you're riding the wave of consumer love and something that, again, it improves the way people live their lives, and I think you have to start in an under-the-radar way. Once you establish that critical mass, then it's bad politics, really, for forces to fight against it. They should think of ways to embrace it. A good example is YouTube, right? I mean, that was really disruptive, and people who finally figured out a way to embrace that, obviously do well with it. Napster, on the bleeding edge, but various versions that came out since then, Spotify, which is a company that we're invested in, finally made it work. So disruption happens oftentimes at a bleeding edge where it's very difficult for that to happen, but whenever it happens on a profound scale with really entrenched incumbents that have failed to innovate, those are really important opportunities, not only for great businesses to be formed, but for our lives to improve through innovation.
You both have big transportation investments. If someone was born today, will they be driving when they're 17, or is it going to be Will they ever drive a car?
No, I think if they're born today, my gosh, 17 years, they'll be flying.
You think they'll be flying?
Yeah, I think so. 17 years is a lot of time. Moore's Law can double. How many times has Moore's Law doubled in 17 years? Probably 12, 15 times. That's a lot.
So you think it'll be at least self-driving cars, if not jets and airplane kind of things?
Yeah, I think you'll be able to get around very independently and probably don't have to learn to drive a car, but you might have to learn something else.
Yeah.
Fly
I think
a
people
rocket.
will be teleported.
Teleporting?
Yeah. I think
Well, we
that's,
kind of get teleported. We're being teleported now. Aren't there cameras on us? Anyway, we're being teleported somewhere now.
Yeah.
So Skype and those things have actually allowed us to, in effect, teleport. Although that is the one thing from Star Trek. We have the communicator, we have the medical device, we have the tricorder reading. We don't have teleportation.
yeah.
And we don't have time travel or ion travel or warp drive. But
Maybe next year, next collision, we'll be teleporting here. Give me a couple ideas. What are you guys excited about right now in the business, in the industry? What's getting you all jazzed up?
You know what is exciting for me is I decided, I did this 6 Californias thing. I was trying to, we have the state that costs the most and provides the worst service. So I was trying to create 6 new governments so that they'd be fresh and make them more virtual, make them more efficient, responsible. That didn't work out. We didn't get enough signatures. But what I'm doing now is I'm crowdsourcing ideas for governmental change. And that can be from, put another initiative on the ballot, or it can be, I've got a business and that business needs funding and that business is GovTech. The Prime Minister of Estonia came to speak at Draper University and we had a great conversation, and he said just by instituting digital signatures, we save 2% of our GDP. And by using digital voting, all the young people started to vote. Of course, I mean, who wants to go into that creepy old booth and pull the little lever, and it's just, why waste all that time?
So
you can just
you
do it
see
on
tech
your
saving government.
smartphone.
Tech can save the...
Yeah, and then he said that by using digital identity, he lowered his crime rate, and then he made me a virtual resident of Estonia. And so all of you can become virtual residents of Estonia.
You pay Estonia taxes.
Which means I
you
can
pay California taxes or Estonia taxes?
I don't have to pay taxes yet there, but I can set up a bank account. I can buy real estate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mahmood, what's getting you
I think
going?
what we're witnessing happening right now, I think is going to have ramifications in our life 10, 20 years from now as it relates to Uber and building out the last mile of transportation and just the ability with a push of a button on your smartphone to get whatever you want delivered to you. It's been cost prohibitive in years past because the platform hasn't been built for that to be created. And once that happens, I think not only, and I was joking about teleporting, I absolutely believe that 20 years from now, people when they turn 16, I don't think they're going to be yearning to own a car. I think just the notion of car ownership, it's just going to become outdated. To be cool, I think would be, to push a button and have some premium service take you one place or another. But other services built around that, we're invested in Instacart. There are other on-demand marketplace businesses that are built around that. We're investors in DoorDash. But I think once you have this really...
I love DoorDash.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Great to hear.
And Uber, I love Uber. I was stuck at Draper University and I had to get home. And my wife said, look, I'm in a bad mood and I'm hungry and where are you? And I said, well, I don't have a car and I'm here and I'm stuck. And I said, hold on just a second. And I hit Uber and DoorDash and I had dinner arrived just as I did. And it was like the perfect night. All of a sudden,
virtual marriage.
Happy
Uber
wife,
saves,
happy life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, that's a very good.
Oh, by the
that's
way,
a very good thought
by
to
the
end
way,
on.
go if you do have a GovTech business, go submit at fixcal.org because we are actually funding some of those. There are lots of ways to get funded, but that is one great way to get funded.
Final thought, last word, are you all set?
I'm just thinking about the teleporting concept still, so
Nice,
mine's
good.
still there.
Awesome.
Are
Well,
we
thank you,
gonna
thank you guys so
teleport, like,
much.
one molecule at a time, or is it going to be like, here, you're there?